Afternoon. It's a Sunday. I never say. What do I say? That I don't know. What did I say? It's a Sunday. um, yeah, Sunday. That was it. Yeah, Sunday's nothing to do. So I thought I'd make a video. Get comfortable. Really need to get a new chair. This one's got like a excuse me. It's got like a ridge in it. It's so old. It's got like a ridge in it where there used to be like cushioning. And if I sit too long on it, I swear it's going to give me hemorrhoids. Yeah. Excuse me. Oh Jesus! I don't know if anybody watched my last video. Um, it was the beginning of a cold, and just coming out of that cold now. This is about probably two and a bit over 2 weeks later. It's probably the worst cold I've ever had. I won't go into detail, but it was shocking. Oh, awful. Yeah. So you might sort of see a bit of the uh, the very tail end of what that cold had to offer. Still got a little bit of a cough. Sniffles, the sniffles are all gone. If you're banging and crashing, it's my new neighbours. They're going to start work on the house very soon. So, you know, they're bloody heathens. They're going to dig up there's a pear tree in their garden. They're going to dig it up. If I had a fruiting pear tree in my garden, I would live on pears. Anyway, yeah, that's irrelevant to this video. Right, yeah. Anyone seen one? They're just carrying. I don't want to catch their eye. Um, I lost my train of thought. Right, yeah. In connection to this, my last video, this is the worst beginning of a video ever. But anyway, yeah. In my last video was tips, or I don't know what I called it. What did I call it in the end? It was called tips, but it was more sort of observations, and it wasn't comprehensive because I've thought of a few since, and some other people have mentioned a few. But weirdly, I think it's like literally the week after, the few days after that, Martin Lewis, the money saving expert guy, he had a section in his newsletter about um, about excuse me about charity shops. So I got there first. Yeah, no, it was a bit more sort of professional, like what he had to offer. But a lot of them, there was a lot of synergy, intersections, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, um, I might edit a lot of this out. I'm, I'm smelling a fair amount of bullshit. Right. So yeah, I did mention during that video that there will be a follow up, and that follow up will be my top. Excuse me, my top charity shop purchases. I've been doing it for. I tried to work it out how long it was. Um, I'm trying to think of waypoints in the past, going back to 2008. So beyond that, probably. I just spit, I did, didn't I? So it could be like 12 more years. So this is 12 at least 12 years worth of stuff. The top stuff. This isn't everything I've got because some of the stuff I haven't actually got because it's been sold on, so I'll have to sort of insert pictures. But the majority of it I've kept. Um, but there's a lot of it, as I said, because it's um, probably 13, 14 years worth of decent stuff. So I've got a few. I think there's I've got a list here. Again, I'm looking at my list. I actually whittled it down to the top 15, but I've got a few honourable mentions. Excuse me, such as one of my tips was about charity shops on their own, and the nearest one I got 10 minutes up that way, or 5-10 minutes up that way, up the road, is again, it's one on its own, and I worked it out. I was really nerdy, and I worked out the area that it services. I suppose you would service it. It's probably the nearest one. Like, other than that way, other charity shop is about 2 miles. That way is about 2 miles. So there's about sort of a 2 mile radius where there's no other charity shops, which works out about, I did work it out, used a bit of trigonometry. Is it trigonometry? No. Pi r squared, apparently. That's about 12.5 miles, square miles of basically houses. Actually, no, a lot of it's fields. So no one lives in a field, unless there's like someone living in a field with stuff they want to donate to charity, but what's the likelihood of that? Not really high, I suppose. But yeah, so honourable mentions. Since my last pickups video, these three plus a few others have all come from my local one. This was the most recent. This was in the last day or so. This is sort of £2 of Minecraft. So sort of and that. These probably won't go into a pickups video because they're probably going to be traded in, because that's a duplicate. The other two, can't be asked to keep WePlay. I'm only going to play it with my nieces. So that's some decent credit in that. And the actual charity shop I'm talking about, it's tiny. If it's got 3 or 4 other customers in there, it's crowded. So for something that small, sort of it pays out. It pays out a lot more often than it should. One of these here, excuse me, comes from there. The actual official top list. I've got a feeling this is going to take yonks, so I might divide it up into, considering it's top 15, I might divide it up into 5s. So I might do, coming up in this section, might be 11 to 15, including more honourable mentions. I've got loads because I couldn't whittle it down. Yeah, so those are some honourable mentions. Honourable mentions. A few others. They're not all brilliant, sort of, really cheap purchases. Some of them are just because they're sort of particular to me, my tastes, or things I've been looking out for. Like this one, for instance. This one came. I bought something else. This came on a really good day. I've already bought something else, but this one was something I'd been looking out for. It's just a DVD. A couple of films. It's like a 2-pack of 2 films, and I think they're the sort of thing that you sort of see late on a BBC 2 or something, or Film 4, and you think, oh yeah, I'd like to get the DVD of that, and you work out, you realise that they're not available in this country, and you can't watch them on streaming anywhere, and the only way you're going to have to watch them is if you can import them from like the States, and this was the case for this, and I was thinking, oh, what's the point in me importing that, because I wouldn't be able to play it anyway. So I'd sort of pretty much resigned myself to not ever having sort of this. It's 2 films. They're Mumblecore films, Quiet City and Dance Party USA. I don't think they'll really be that much interest to anyone because they're sort of more particular to my tastes. But I really wanted to watch them again. But I sort of resigned myself to not ever having to be able to watch this. But lo and behold, I was in a charity shop, and then it just popped up, and I thought, oh, screw it, I'll buy it. Got it home, realised it was like a bonus. I thought I'd maybe in the future I'd be able to watch it. I'd get like a region-free DVD player or something. But lo and behold, I got it home and it's region-free, which bonus. So that turned out to that's one of my personal favourites, even though it's not massively expensive. I think you can probably get it on Music Magpie. I did someone use Music Magpie for about $4.50, but it was about £1 or so. These two others, these are all sort of childhood favourites that I've been sort of looking out for, like Asterix. Some of my personal favourites. That was a £5. That's actually a bit of a bargain. This one, Ulysses. There's another one of my childhood favourites. This was about £3 or something. But they're both pretty expensive to buy now if you want to buy them. But again, these were sort of more sort of personal rather than being out and out bargains as such. Even though they are actually. I mean, they're both about £20 worth, or maybe slightly more or less. But both again like two charity shop purchases that were that I wanted to get because they were, like I said, they were favourites from my childhood. More honourable mentions. This one, again, some of these came from every so often you go out and you have a bit of a mooch about, and then you get around the charity shops and you have a really good day, and you find quite a lot of stuff. And this was one of these days. It seems to sort of coincide with me finding other things, and this isn't one I've been able to play because I haven't got the system, but it's one my friend had when I was at school, and it was my favourite game. And I'd always want to play it when he'd go around there, and he'd want to play Sensible Soccer, which is a bit of a clue what it is. He'd want to play Sensible Soccer, but I'd go around there and can I play this? Can I play this, please? And he'd go, oh God, no, I want to play Sensible Soccer. But I think generally we just play Sensible Soccer, but it's North and South. This came on a really good day, and I thought, oh, bargain. And this is just sort of oddly nostalgic for me, even though I can't play it. I've no idea if it even works, because this is going back a few years, and I've never been able to test it. It's an Amiga version, an Amiga game, and he had an Amiga. And this is one of my favourites. I mean, it was to the point where I got the Amstrad version, which was a bit of a pale imitation, but still, you get the vibe, the general gist. But it turns out this version, the particular version, there's more than one version, is actually quite collectible, and will go for a bit. But for some reason, there's one with a different cover, a newer version, I think, which isn't as sort of collectible. I don't know why, but but yeah, I can't do anything with it. But I've just got it. I'm not likely to ever buy an Amiga just to play it, so I might take it to. I don't generally keep things just to stick on the shelf, so I might take it to a show or something. I'd have to say I'm not convinced it works, because I do know that Amiga games, aren't they, generally by and large, not the most reliable. Maybe because whenever you see Amiga games on eBay, they all say tested. Another honourable mention. This was just sort of, having said I don't keep things on the shelf. Well, I can't do much with this unless I'm going to open it. But this was again relevant to the tips. This was in a new charity shop. That was one of the tips, wasn't it? Look out for new charity shops. And this was a new one. It was about £1, just sort of sitting on the shelf. And I just think, I don't know, something about it. It's really satisfying. I like this sort of how it's sort of hermetically sealed, but also it's, I don't know, there's something about the proportions of the box and sort of what's inside. It's just, I don't know. Looking at this, it would really make me want to collect all of them. It hasn't yet. I mean, I've had it for years. It's got dust in it. You can see. I've had it for years, but that was just sort of really sort of satisfying purchase, just sitting there, and it was like, right, I'm having that definitely. But it's just a really nice thing. I like the colours, and you see how the PS1 controller is becoming sort of a bit of a design classic. But you can't really say for. Could you say you can't really say for the Saturn controllers or the consequent like Xbox controllers, can you? I think you could always say that about Nintendo controllers, like NES and SNES controllers, and maybe this has got a bit of that, but it's just a really nice thing. Fucking hell, it's dusty as well, Jesus. A few more. This one, not the best buy, but I just thought I'll include it because it's apart from one sort of one, this is the only one I've ever caught on video, proper purchase, and it's Donkey Kong Country 2. It's just sort of sitting there on a shelf when I actually have my camera out, and that never happens. And it was just I've got to include that because I've actually got proper record of me buying it. For some reason, I always think people aren't going to believe me. Sort of something in my head goes, they're not going to believe you. They think it's a setup. But now that I have actual bona fide proof that this wasn't a charity shop. But paranoia, Jesus. But yeah, like I said, not the best of these purchases, but I got it on camera and sort of decent enough. These I can't say for certain. These both came in a charity shop. I know one of them did for certain. I don't know if they both did. Something tells me they did, but I can't remember where the other one came from. That's the thing with these. A lot of them, no, the vast majority, I know exactly where they came from, and I can picture them. You can see the dust. Can you see the dust on that? Maybe I should have cleaned the dust off before I made this video. It's embarrassing me. I'll have to just sort of put it underneath. I'm ashamed. Get out of here, you bastard. On there. Put it as far away from me as possible. I'm personally ashamed. Yeah. This one definitely came from a charity shop. This I'm not so sure. I think it did. I think they both did. I know where this one was. I was at my nan's, and when she lived at home, I used to. We always used to sort of go out and have some lunch, but then she'd sit and watch Pointless or something, and I'd have a bit of an opportunity to go around Tunbridge Wells to look at their charity shops. I didn't. Going to see my nan wasn't the sole reason for me. It wasn't the sole reason for me going over there because they had good charity shops. Oh, shameful. It was shameful, but yeah. This one was in I think it was in. They had a little bundle in a charity shop, and they had an SP, and I didn't want the SP. And I think there's a few other games, and I just asked the ladies in the shop if I could separate it out, and they said yeah, and I think it was about $150. I'm convinced this came in another charity shop as well, but to have them both from charity shops was sort of bit of a bargain. Oh, bollocks. Excuse me, I've knocked something off. Oh, yeah. These... There's not much to say about this, but this was sort of a decent purchase. One of the later PS2 games. It's a Jak and Daxter. The Lost... Was it? No. The Lost Frontier, yeah. One of the later PS2 games, one that I had on my list, one that I wanted to get. So it's a little tip: keep an eye out for orange PS2 cases. The vast majority will be there's an iToy game. I think iToy Sports. But when you're like flicking through DVDs and stuff, look out for orange cases because the vast majority will be iToy Sports or maybe like I think Over the Hedge DVD, the film, has an orange case. every so often you'll get a Jak and Daxter, and this is one of the later PS2 games, so it's relatively uncommon, not massively expensive. I think it was more expensive when I bought this, but it was again about pound or so, £1.50, £2 or something. But that was a nice little purchase, and this is a weird one in that came in the same charity shop as Donkey Kong Country 2. British Heart Foundation, they've sort of, I swear a lot of their stuff goes to, I think I've said, a lot of their stuff goes to their eBay store. But this one, this is a weird one because it was in a charity shop, it was in a Sue Ryder in Walthamstow. And they had a whole load of sealed PS2 games. I think one of them, and sort of, it was strange. Nothing major, brilliant. This was the best one. Glass Rose. Looks like a photo. It's not. It's some. I think it's an actual. I think he was in a Japanese boy band. This guy, but it's the actual picture looks real, but it's not. It's. I think it's a. excuse me, survival horror, but never played it. But this was just sort of quite a nice buy. I think the only other game I can remember that they had was Savage Skies, I think it's called. It's a bit like Panzer Dragoon, but that's a decent purchase. I don't know whether I'll ever get around to playing it. I always feel slightly reluctant to take sort of the seal off games if I'm not really desperate to play them, and that's the case with that really. But which is nice to have. But, last two, these are just honourable mentions, and it's over 20 minutes, so I'm definitely going to have to split it up into 3 sections, maybe 4. Might have a dedicated honourable section, honourable mention section. This one, I thought I'd put this one in. It's a decent purchase, but it's probably the oldest one I've got. The one from the furthest to go. This one is in one of my favourite areas in cancer research, I think. Yeah, and I think they've changed. I think since then, charity shops move all their stuff around, don't they? That's always that's another tip, actually. If a charity shop's moved all their shelves around and put them in different places, quite often their stock will be different from what you've seen, like up until that point. But yeah, this was probably the oldest purchase I've got in all of these. Discworld Noir, this was probably a good 10 years ago I got this. It was like bargain. But this sort of one of the ones that started me off on going around charity shops, and when you see stuff like this, it starts to, you get more enthused about it because wow, this is the sort of thing I can get. But not that seeing PS1 games were as uncommon as they are now back then, but still, and Discworld, it was like bargain. So last honourable mention, not exactly as I found it in the charity shop, but X-Men: Children of the Atom. The one I bought, and I've since sort of cobbled together a full copy. The one I bought in a charity shop didn't have a manual, and I've been able to. But so this isn't exactly as I found it, but this is a lot better copy. So yeah, I just thought I'd include that because it's a sort of really decent game to find in a charity shop. It's not just bog standard, but yeah, it's good. I mean, when I say bog standard, you something like, you'd be really chuffed to get something like a Crash Bandicoot, wouldn't you, or a Spyro. But they're relatively common, and it's not every day you're going to see Children of the Atom because they just don't turn up generally in CX, or even though they do, but not comparable numbers. You know what I mean? But yeah, honourable mention section. Right, I might cut here to move all that stuff out of the way, and it might even be, if I decide, I don't really know how I decided to do this, but yeah. Either way, I'm going to get rid of all that stuff here. Just move it to the side. I might even dust that PS1 controller. So, can I be asked to? Right, this is gonna be honourable mentions. Right, cheers. I'm going to do it all in one go, but I'm going to edit it into different. There might even be four parts. So, cheers for part one. Honourable mentions of best charity shop purchases, finds, things. So, cheers.